In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to use Central's new flow designer to set up exactly how your AI receptionist handles calls. I'm going to be building a real example using a law firm so you can see how it all comes together. Let's get into it. Before we get into it, just a quick bit of context. Central has two ways to set up your AI receptionist. So head over to your Central front desk, and then under reception in setup, you're going to immediately see two options. So we've got prompt builder and we've got flow designer. The first is the prompt builder. You write in plain English how you want your AI receptionist to behave, and the AI uses that as a guideline. It has more freedom to figure things out on its own, which works pretty well for most businesses. The flow designer is for when you want to get more specific and you're mapping out exactly what happens at every point of the call. So almost no situation gets left to chance. Think of it like building a flow chart for your phone calls. Neither one is better than the other. It just depends on how much control you want. So if you're less technical, then the prompt builder is a great place to start. But if you want to handle every possible outcome, then the flow designer is your tool. Okay, so now you're going to toggle on the flow designer and we're going to build a flow from scratch. You've got your templates here, but we're going to build it from scratch so you can see exactly how it works. I'm going to use law firm as the example because when someone calls a law firm, the stakes are high, the calls need to be handled professionally, and qualifying leads, the right leads, matters a lot. So this is a great use case. Every flow starts with the same trigger, an incoming call, and that's already set up for you, so we're just going to start building from there. So the first thing I want my receptionist to do is to greet the caller and ask how it can help. So we're going to select an action, and here you have a list of nodes, the most popular ones. We've got core, integration, and global. So we're just going to go to popular, and we're going to stick to greeting. So once you have greeting, you can customize the message however you want, to the point and simple. Next, it automatically adds the ask a question node. Here, we've already have a default. How can I help you today? Again, you can change that however you want. Now, based on what they say, I want the flow to go in different directions. So I'm going to add an AI intent detection node, which we can find here. This is where the AI listens to their response and routes them down the right path. First, there's an optional field, branch instruction, and this is where you can give the AI a bit of context on how to decide which branch to go down. So for our law firm, I'm going to write something like, classify the caller's intent based on the nature of their legal matter. You don't have to fill this in, but it does help the AI make more accurate decisions, especially if your branches are quite specific. Okay, and now I'm going to set up the three branches. Branch 1 is going to be general question. Someone asking about the firm's services, fees, or areas of practice. Branch 2, book a consultation. Someone who's ready to speak with an attorney. And then branch 3, speak to someone, speak to a human. Someone who is frustrated or wants to speak to a human straight away. Okay, now let's build out each branch. Let's start with general question. For general question, I'm going to add a knowledge base answer node. This pulls from whatever information that you've already uploaded into your knowledge base. I'm going to show you quickly. You can find it here under Ask Central. And this is where you have your services, FAQs, pricing, anything like that. It's important that you have all that information uploaded into your knowledge base in order for your AI receptionist to be able to give the most accurate answer. And now let's do book a consultation. So here we click select action. Before booking the consultation, we need to collect some details. So the node that we're going to select is collect info. And then we're going to set it to gather the caller's full name and ask what legal matter they're calling about. Then we want to make sure that we qualify this lead before booking anything. So we're going to add a lead qualification node. And here there's also a branch instruction. I'm going to fill this in to make sure that the AI makes better decisions. You can write something like classify the caller as qualified if their legal matter falls within the firm's areas of practice as outlined in the business information. And then I added if their matter falls outside our areas of practice, classify them as not qualified. So you're going to notice that the branch instruction, it kind of repeats what you're going to write in the two branches. But again, this is just if you want your AI receptionist to have more context and just give them more specific instruction. Now we're going to set our qualification rules. It's important that you add the variable that we created in the collect info node. So we added what is your name and what is your legal matter. And if you look, you can see it right here. What legal matter are you calling about? So that's a variable that we're going to select. And then we're going to type if their case falls within our areas of practice. And then for the not qualified branch, you're going to select the same variable, and then you're going to type if their legal matter falls outside our areas of practice. Okay, and now we're going to add the nodes to each branch, whether they're qualified or not qualified. We decide what's going to happen. So to qualified, we're going to add a book meeting. So if they're qualified, they can book a consultation. So we're going to select the node book meeting. Here you can add pre-booking instruction, like for example, asking for the caller for their email, because that way they can get a confirmation with all the meeting details. So we can put ask for their email and preferred time of booking. Then you can add a send email node. So this one is pretty straightforward. You just have to make sure that your email is connected. You just click on configure and it will connect within 2 seconds. And then you've got these different fields here. You've got fallback option. You've got a subject line that you can fill out, like confirmation of consultation, for example. And then a message like, hi, thank you so much for booking a consultation. Please let us know if there's any information we need, etc., etc. So once you've filled that out, then we can move on to not qualified branch. For the not qualified, we can just pretty much end the call because they're not qualified. So we click on end conversation, but obviously we don't want them to have an abrupt end to the call. So you can add a nice closing message. So you can put something like, thank you for calling. Unfortunately, this may not be the right fit for our firm, but we wish you the best. And now let's go back up to the last branch, which was speak to someone. So I'm going to add a call transfer node to route them straight to a human agent. Here you can decide whether you want it to be a warm transfer or a cold transfer. A warm transfer lets the human agent know what the call is about, and that way they have context before they pick up the call and help the caller. And then you have to put your transfer phone number and the transfer name, the name of the agent who's most likely going to pick up the call. So that's our main call flow. A caller rings up, gets greeted, and then the AI figures out what they need and handles it. Whether that is answering a question, booking a consultation, or speaking to someone. Okay, so now this is where it gets a little more interesting. You're not just limited to one path in a call flow. You can also add a second path, or third or fourth, however many you want. So you can set up these additional paths that get triggered in specific situations and run alongside the main flow. So there are 2 types of triggers for these extra paths, and the first that we're going to add is global keyword. This means that at any point during the call, no matter where the conversation is at, if the caller says a specific word, then the flow will jump over onto this separate path. Then there's also global intent. I'll show you very quickly. This works similarly, but instead of a specific word, the AI detects the caller's tone or situation. So for example, if the caller sounds frustrated, then the flow will immediately jump onto this separate path no matter where the conversation was. But for the purpose of this video, using the law firm use case, we're going to do global keyword. And the trigger keyword that we're going to use is going to be urgent. If you run a real estate firm, for example, maybe your trigger keyword would be buy or sell. But for this example, if the caller says urgent during the call, I don't want them going through the normal flow. I want them to be transferred to a human straight away. So then the node that we're going to add here is going to be call transfer. And this way it'll go straight to a human agent. So it's as simple as that. No matter what's happening on the call, if the caller says the word urgent, they'll immediately get transferred to a human agent. You can add as many separate paths as you need for different keywords, different scenarios, or whatever makes sense for your business. Before we finish, I just want to quickly flag a few features that didn't come up while we were designing the flow. You can connect tools like Slack, Google Sheets, Notion, Salesforce, and Linear, and a lot more. If you see here in the notes, you can see a bunch of integrations here that you can directly connect while you're inside designing the flow. But you can manage them better if you head over to actions in your front desk, and you'll be able to see all the available apps. When you connect a tool, you can configure exactly what permissions the AI receptionist has for each action. So for example, if we go to Linear and we quickly connect the app, Then we are going to have options available, for example, create issue, add comment, and update issue. And then for each one, you can select whether you want to give the AI receptionist full permission. This little hand right here means that it needs your approval. So it goes ahead and does the action, but it needs your approval first before it fully gets completed. And then this last one here is just to disable the action if you don't want to create an issue ever or add a comment or update an issue. So if you disable it, the action won't be used at all. And then any actions that are pending your approval will show up here in the approval section. So you're always in control of what actually gets executed. Okay, and then we'll go back to the flow designer and I'll show you CRM conditions. So the CRM condition lets you check your CRM data at any point during the call before deciding what happens next. So for example, if a caller's phone number is already in your CRM, then you can route them down an existing client path. If they're not in your CRM, then they go down a new lead path. But it goes beyond just checking if a contact exists. You can condition on any field in your CRM. So for example, if a contact city contains Miami, so you select location and then contains Miami, then the AI will route them down one way. If it doesn't contain Miami, it'll route them down another. It really is a powerful way to personalize how the calls are handled based on what you already know about the caller. And then if you don't want to build the whole thing manually, there is an AI builder here on the right side built in. Just describe in plain English what you want and then it'll build the flow for you, and then you can just go in and make any tweaks that you need. Finally, once your flow is ready, you can test it directly inside the platform without using up any of your call minutes. You can just click the button at the bottom here, test. So then you can just hit the test button, start talking, and you can watch in real time exactly which path the call is going down. And that's the Flow Designer. As you can see, once it's set up, your AI receptionist can handle pretty much any situation on a call without you needing to step in. If you have any questions, drop them down below and I'll see you in the next one.